Hi, my name is Dr. Seltsam from TonyMacX86.com. This is a guide how to enable Turbo Boost and SpeedStep on your Z9PE mainboard. You can get it working in under 10 minutes. Let me show you the content of this guide. First, I will show you what tools we need to get Turbo and SpeedStep working. We will dump your BIOS together. After that, we will make a little change in the binary file. After that, we will flash it back onto your BIOS chip. If any errors occur, please wait for the troubleshooting topic afterwards. The last topic on this guide is a credit page for all people who make this possible. Okay, but why should I need to modify my BIOS? Modifying your BIOS has some huge benefits. The motivation is that you get native support of Turbo Boost technology, which your CPU should have. Beyond that, Mac OS X can use Intel's SpeedStep technology to reduce clock rates of your processor. We are unlocking MSR on your mainboard. Overall, you get a quite decent gain of performance. Some people report higher benchmark scores than in Windows. Are you ready to unleash the power? Let's get started. First, we have to discuss which tools we need. To dump your BIOS, you need a tool called AFU-Win. You can get it directly from American Microtrends, which is the manufacturer of our BIOS. Just search in a famous search engine for this tool and download version 4. Later on, I will explain more of it. You will also need a basic hex editor which can open, search and save. In my case, I use a program called HXD, which is a freeware editor for Windows. Some users report that version 5404 is unlockable. If you are on a lower version, please update. You need a tool called UEFI tool. This handy tool by CodeRush enables you to modify your BIOS. Just search it on the internet. Just in case, buy yourself a backup BIOS chip. It isn't necessary, but definitely a huge help if something goes wrong and you brick your BIOS. If it happens, you can restore your BIOS again. On this tutorial, I was using Windows. You can get it working within just 10 minutes of your time. If you got all tools, we can start to save a dump of your BIOS. To do that, extract the AFU-Win archive which you downloaded from AMI. Open the command prompt and navigate with the cd command to this folder. To keep it simple, I copied all files to drive C. Type in this line. Hit enter. If your system wants administrative privileges, you should grant them. Your BIOS should be dumped right now as dump.rom. After dumping the current BIOS of your system, you have to modify it. To do that, please follow the following steps. After dumping the current BIOS of your system, we have to modify it. To do that, please follow these steps. First, you have to execute UEFI tool by CodeRush. Now click on File and open your BIOS file which you dumped before this step. If opened, click on File and Search. Now type in the hex value which is shown on the left-hand side. After that, select hex pattern as data type and hit OK. UEFI tool finds our hex pattern and displays it in the messages frame. Double-click the row. The program will take you to the place where you will find a PE32 Plus image. Right-click on it and choose Extract Body. Save the file on your desktop. Keep UEFI tool open, because we will use it in 2 minutes again. We are almost done. Open your hex editor like HXD and open your BIOS file on your desktop. Press Ctrl+F to start the search. you need to find the hex string which we searched before in UEFI tool. Replace 6C with 74 and save the file. Now you can exit HXD, we don't need it anymore. Remember to let UEFI tool open. Now go back into the program and right-click again the PE32 Plus image. Instead of extracting, we now want to replace. So click on Replace Body in the context menu. UEFI tool will automatically replace and rebuild your image when saving. Now select the previous hex file which you modified with the hex editor. The last step is to click File and Save Image File to save your new BIOS. Please give it a proper name, because you will need it later. Congratulations, your BIOS is now unlocked and patched. The only thing left is to flash it back to your main board. Let's see how we can do this. First off, I have to clarify some things. This guide is carefully created to help you flash your BIOS. Please understand that I am not responsible for what you do on your main board. Do it at your own risk. Let's see first what we have to do to get it working. In this step we have to flash your modified BIOS back to your main board. The problem is that AFU-Win will not let you flash the BIOS because of security reasons. Because we modified our BIOS, we can't flash it back like a normal one. Here is a trick you won't find in the AFU-Win manual. We have to use a special hidden parameter to override the security lock. Before doing that, remember that I mentioned you may buy a BIOS backup chip. If something goes wrong, you can easily swap your chips and do a hot flash. This method I will explain later in troubleshooting. In normal cases it should even work without a backup chip. But you know Murphy's Law, right? Okay, let's burn this BIOS in. To finally flash your BIOS, copy your modified BIOS file into the AFU-Win folder to make things easier. Now open a command prompt and navigate with the cd command to the location where AFU-Win is. For the sake of simplicity, I copied my files to drive C. Now type in the command shown left and hit enter. Now your Windows will ask for administrative privileges which you should grant. That's it, your BIOS is being flashed right now. I think I don't need to say that you please do not turn off your computer while flashing. If you do this, get out your backup BIOS chip. When the flash is complete, you have to reboot your computer. Cross your fingers. If you see something, everything worked. You can now use Turbo and SpeedStep in macOS 10. If the screen stays black, I hope you have a backup BIOS chip. Please take a look on your main board. If the display is showing the digits 00, you have to look in the troubleshoot section. Don't worry, this is easy to fix. If you are still watching, you have probably break your BIOS or just forgot to turn off the video. In first case, let us fix your BIOS. It seems that something went wrong. But don't panic. You just need a BIOS chip. They are cheap and easy to find on the internet. To get rid of the black screen, turn off your computer. Now replace the brick chip with your backup chip. Turn the computer on and boot into the BIOS. It may sound weird, but we swap the chips while we are in BIOS. Remove the backup chip from your main board and stick the brick chip into it. You heard right. Do not turn off your computer. This method is called a hot flash. Now make a simple change in BIOS. It is no matter what you change, but at least one thing. Now, in BIOS, hit Save Changes and exit. Your working BIOS wrote itself on the brick chip. Now you should be able to use Turbo Boost and SpeedStep, too. I just want to thank a few people on this page for making this possible. Thank you very much for your time, your tools, your help and your patience. If something's not working, please visit TonyMacX86.com and search for Z9PE.